Welcome everyone. In this Thanksgiving week, we are joined this week, and we'll get to know our guests a little bit better. But we're joined by Matteo, who's coming live from London, and super excited. I've been a little bit involved in a lot of the workflows that he's built to date. A lot of them around like social content generation and repurposing. But what we'll go through today is setting up kind of the stage for a little bit of the background, some of the challenges Matteo faced as a solopreneur. And really, we want to spend as much time as possible on the demos, showing you the meat and potatoes of it all, of what he's put together and where he's starting to find value. And then, like as always in this Growth Leader series, we'll spend more time then on like kind of picking Mateo's brain on how he iterated through the different steps and what are his best practices. So be it like building in the workflow builder, choosing different models, setting up some of the context. There's a ton I want to learn from him. So yeah, I'm super excited to get going here. But Matteo, if you want to go to the next slide. Uh, Super impressive background. He's been leading the charge for many Series A to C companies over the last few years across everything I'm aware of is like messaging, positioning, demand gen, and more. But Matteo, would love for you to give us an introduction to yourself as well.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Like, great to be here, Owen. Yeah, as Owen mentioned, I've been in marketing and for just under a decade, serving Series pre-seed to Series BC startups, mostly in B2B SaaS. Covered a lot of times the role of founding marketer, so that meant being in the trenches and really being cross-functional and working across. Things like product marketing, content, and demand gen. So setting up like the infra, the 0 to 1. And since the couple of years, I've been working as a solopreneur, running my own growth marketing studio called Genesis Growth. I've had the honor and pleasure to work with really cool brands like Ahrefs, Toast, Owner.com, Common Room, and more. And on the side, I've been also having the great pleasure of working directly with senior growth leaders like Guillaume Caban and Martin Gonto at Hypergrowth Partners, and did a bunch of ghostwriting and playbooks writing for basically working together with their collective of senior growth leaders at Hypergrowth. All right. Yeah, and obviously, as a part of being a solopreneur, one of the main challenges is that you have to internalize. You have to wear multiple hats, pretty much like in a similar fashion as a founding marketer, but a bit more of a wider scope. And so you do have to create, do the business development, the marketing, and so on and so forth. But before we get into that, actually, yeah, what I like, why Genesis Growth? I am a firm believer that exactly like a lot working with a lot of founders. I've seen how a lot of like founders like rush into go to market without having a clear messaging and positioning, and that turns into what I call diluted GTM, which basically it means flooding their channels with messaging that kind of like looks and feel the same. Especially with AI, it's something that is Owen knows, and the AirOps team knows a lot as well. It's something that is a problem that AI is creating. And so what I'm set up to build is actually like try to educate the market and offer services serving founders like the AirOps team to actually overcome this GTM dilution and even train the LLMs and the AIs in such a way that they do match the brand voice and they do resonate with the target audience so that it is laser focused, is targeted, and it doesn't feel diluted. At Genesis Growth, like you would work directly with me. I different from others, I do both strategy and execution. And yeah, so like that's a little bit about myself.
I think
Um,
what's so interesting there, Matteo, of what you went through was your mentioning of like dilution of the like copy or just the messaging that a lot of companies have on their website. And You're almost like counterpoint to that was in your process, you're more manual, but you're using AI to improve your ability to capture the core insights and then surface that for customers. And maybe give us like another feel for like you're using these tools that other people create maybe very bland content from for you to actually like elevate and like bring their brand out and like the most important data points out for their customers to see.
Sure. I mean, I think like there's a lot of a couple of notes there. One of the biggest trends of why the internet has been flooded with these type of lookalike type of content is that people they just prompt ChatGPT in a very natural language with a very surface level prompts, and that basically means that same input equals same similar output, right? And that's one of the things that is making is dealing is yielding this type of fast foodification of content, as I call it. On the other hand, like there's a lot of like more but yeah, so like to overcome this, there's a couple of ways that a couple of methods that I've been using. One has been to really focus on prompt engineering to on role plays type of prompts that we'll be diving into the demos, but then ultimately is basically framing the LLM and grounding it with a lot more context and structure as per requirements, constraints, tone and style, the actual output of the task, and so on and so forth. And the other is comes back to what I just said a minute ago about the quality of the input, which is not just the prompt, but also the context around the prompt, which comes from ultimately knowledge base or contextual information that can give the LLM more information about what your company, your brand, your customers. And specifically, I've been finding like very good success by mining customer calls transcripts from the likes of Gong or Clary. And that's been a really good way to ground the LLM into just good structured information and so that the LLM can also grasp the nuance of how the customer talks about the product, talks about their problem, and that ultimately helped me come up with a lot more on point messaging.
Love it. That's great.
Cool. So yeah, going back to what I was saying before, a lot of the being a solopreneur, you do have to do the marketing yourself, and I've decided to go down the path of doing content marketing also because it was one of the services that I offer to my clients, and so it's obviously a lot better if you offer a service to show that you can also do it for yourself. But that obviously comes with challenges. I decided specifically to focus on LinkedIn because that's where my ICP is. But creating content of high quality at scale, it's or consistently being a one-man band, it can be daunting and overwhelming. And because of the latest algorithm changes, LinkedIn algorithm changes, it's not just about posting or pushing content out, but you need to also comment and be social, so to speak. That's what LinkedIn wants you to do. And so commenting or connecting with peers or your ICP, it's also an additional activity that kind of like piles up onto the list, right? So it's also like a matter of repurposing content. That's one another like key challenge. You spend a lot of time creating this long form thought leadership playbooks, but then ultimately you just announce them once and then they end up not being noticed, maybe because it was not the right time, not the right angle or hook, and so you end up basically not using it. But what I found out is that you need to repurpose and extract multiple excerpts from the same post or retest even the same exact post just with a different hook or with an image or with a video. And that's a lot of like that can yield a lot of benefits and can increase the shelf life of the content and ultimately, give more outcomes for your inputs. But then again, it's like the repurposing process is in for itself, like another big challenge or it's a big effort. And yeah, another thing exactly is how to also make sure that you put out all this content, but then it turns into actual outcome for your business, right? Is it turning into qualified leads? Are these leads converting into qualified opportunities? Are you actually ultimately turning new customers from this content? So, while all doing like the business development, which is like, again, proposals, meetings, follow-ups, and all of that. And let's not forget that I also need to deliver all the clients' works for an average of 4 to 6 concurrent clients every month. So again, this is like quite a lot on my plate, and which brings me basically to the that's what one of the things that AirOps is helping me solve for sure. But yeah, ultimately, like the efforts did pay off in terms of like content to date. I've been active on LinkedIn for pretty much like over 100 days now. So starting being very consistent around end of July. And my strategy has been focused on 3 key content pillars. One is like really, again, in the spirit of increasing the shelf life of these long form playbooks. How can I distribute them as giveaways and to basically generate lead magnets that I can then nurture with automated emails and then eventually upsell to customers. Then there is a lot of like repurposing or extracting excerpts from these long form playbooks. And I've also like been trying to share a bit more about my work or like behind the scenes. So like showcasing some of the tools that I use, some of the workflows that I have to kind of like again in the spirit of showcasing thought leadership to both my peers and my prospective clients. And I in the process of doing all of this, I do strive to streamline as much as possible the content ideation and creation, as well as the repurposing, like the imagery, and all of that. And there's still a lot of scope for improvement for sure, which will basically will dive into the workflow in a bit.
Love it. I see a couple of big spikes on that chart on the right, Matteo. It looks like those drive probably like impressions. What sorts of content were those ones that you had?
Yeah, these are actually like similar to this one that you guys. Oh no, actually, yeah, similar to this, but not specifically. This is not the perfect example. These are those giveaways that I talked about. So like, how can I share basically these playbooks? Just like package them as gated resources. Why they're great, why I feel they worked well. It's because basically they prompted the algorithm. They have a video in the creative, which is something that LinkedIn really likes. B is prompting, like in the post, I'm prompting people to comment on the under the post, which is something that again LinkedIn likes very much. And then the comments are basically because I ask people to comment so that I can DM them the actual lead magnet. Once that the comment turns into a direct message, which is a one-to-one relationship, which again is in the grand scheme of LinkedIn and being social, that's what LinkedIn wants you to do, to connect with peers and prospects and facilitates business transactions, basically. These kind of like combination of actions is, in my opinion, what the algorithm today is set up for. And so that's ultimately, it turns into a few of these spikes.
Love it. Tom has a question in the comments here, which is, you mentioned the importance of commenting and being social on LinkedIn. How are you managing that? Yeah, it's one of the most time-consuming aspects, is the other comment he has. But yeah, I guess what you're going through there is like you're putting out content, you're trying to get people to engage, and then those engagements lead to more one-on-one communications, which is like in your interest of getting calls and like getting people connected to your business. How do you make that balance? And I guess maybe that's where some of the demos play into the overall process too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like the comment, like there's things that can be automated and there's things that shouldn't be automated, especially again, given the premise of how the algorithm or the platform that you're posting in wants you to behave. So I think like in that way, I chose specifically not to automate the actual giveaway sending nor the commenting. So like the commenting, it's something that I carve out time in my day to go and answer people one by one, replying in the comments and then DM them. It's just because I can actually see who is who, and it gives me like a lot more leverage and control over customizing, messages for higher quality prospects that I can see. And same when it comes to commenting, like I think commenting is like becoming more and more crucial. I think now is probably more about the thoughtfulness of your comments on others people's posts as opposed to the content that you put out. And so my rule of thumb is to warm up the algo and comment 15 minutes before you post and 15 minutes after you post every day. So, and that basically I factor in an average of 60 to 90 minutes per day, which is my content power hour, where I start with the commenting, scroll through the feed, and like generally comment on things that I feel are interesting to me. Then I post, and then I do another 15, 20 minutes of commenting.
Oh, wow, love it. I'll get through maybe one other quick question here that Bernardo had, which is, do you use any tools for LinkedIn DM automation?
No, I don't. But I know that there's like a ton, and but this is exactly like for me, it's a strong no. But it's just a personal taste decision. I think that when and obviously, like I'm still very much, my audience growth is still very much in the making. Yes, as we see on the slide, I managed to go from 3.9 to 7.5 thousand followers. So just about double basically the followers base in again 120 days, which I think is like really good, because ultimately these followers turned into a lot of calls. Now I'm getting like at least like 5 to 10 calls per week, no, maybe like let's say like 3 to 4 calls per week that are pretty much qualified. Everything is inbound. I've never sent like an outbound email to date, which I think is like pretty good. And there's definitely a lot more than I can handle in terms of like deal flow at the moment. But when I probably get to scale in terms of 10 to 20,000 followers, and I do a giveaway, and that will get viral, that's probably going to be the time when I might need to reevaluate the decision. So it's
Yep.
never a cookie cutter, yes or no, black or white. It always
Yeah.
depends on context.
No, love it. And I think this kind of leads nicely into like the next slide that we have. So you're given that like 60 to 90 minutes per day to like high quality activities, but you're using automation and like AirOps within other like content generation functions to give you back time that you would otherwise have to commit to that. So you're able to maybe spend your time on higher leverage activities like content and evaluation and reviewing it and then commenting, rather than needing to do everything on the content generation front yourself. That sound pretty much right, Matteo?
Yeah, it sounds pretty much right. And again, like it's to date, what I've been doing is basically I've been using isolated AIs in silos, like and basically like jump across tabs, copy pasting prompts, and it's not always the cleanest or more most linear of the processes. So what AirOps is really helping me do is centralize everything into one linear process that can be structured in a much more modular way. And so it's a lot more, makes my content creation, repurposing, distribution a lot more modular. I can create a workflow. I mean, we will see it now. But I can put together different content ideation, creation, evaluation sources, and then at my taste, create, plug, and inject these context into actual other prompts that create specific type of formats, whether that's LinkedIn, newsletter, long form, and so on and so forth. I think you're muted, Owen.
No, that's great. Do you want to give people a quick overview of maybe the workflow that we'll demo here? And then I think we just get straight into it then.
Yeah, for sure. So what I built for you guys is basically this 5-6 steps workflow. The goal of it is to create cross-channel content from one topic idea. And the topic idea is basically a keyword that I inject into the workflow, and then I let Perplexity run a search to find more context about this in-demand topic. And validate even the SEO potential. And then I basically pass this context, which is made of the actual topic, key points, and so on and so forth, URL sources to the workflow where I get first AirOps to pull from specific writing styles and post templates that match my voice and the structure of how I post based on specific posting types. Again, based whether that's like a giveaway or a workflow showcase or something else. And then I use the context and align with the writing styles and post templates to create specific content assets. First, we start from the long form. So an SEO outline, article, and newsletter. Then LinkedIn post and carousel. The carousel is just the copy, but then if I have a design template, I can then easily paste it there. Then a next thread and 5x posts extracted from the threads. And then eventually we go even further to create prompts to generate images via ideogram, which is like a competitor equivalent of a Midjourney that we can then append to the content. We also made sure that we have human review steps integrated into the grid to make sure that the content matches my tastes. And if I want to do last minute edits, I'm able to do that very much in context within AirOps in a super streamlined way. And then can then be trickled down across the entire workflow. And then I can even go further to push the content on a Notion social calendar for then manual posting. All right.
Cool. And then, yeah, just I had a ton of fun working with Matteo and helping him build some of his workflows. But just generally, as we go through some of the demos, if you want to work closely with our team and get similar outputs to what Matteo has had and similar results, hopefully, yeah, send an email to team@airops.com and we'll hook you up with some exclusive training. So we're going to open up 10 of those positions for people who are on our webinar today. So definitely get your emails in and we'll be delighted to help you out. But yeah, I think let's show the people what they want, Matteo. Let's show them the workflows.
Exciting. All right. So let's start from the grid. So here you can see this is like the AirOps grid. I'll walk you through like an overview. So you can see that here I basically can input a keyword, like B2B positioning, and then I have perplexity, like a specific workflow is embedded as a next step, as a column, where I basically have exactly perplexity search the context of the topic. Then you can see like the topic is populated here, and then I pass this topic onto creating onto another workflow that creates an article, an SEO article, a newsletter article, and then all the way to LinkedIn post and LinkedIn carousel. You can see that here I can also program AirOps to a specific post type, which from like will feed into the actual workflow inputs. And then the same process applies for the X thread post workflows, which are here, and the ideogram image. So we can go into the specific workflows just to show you how everything works a bit more into in details. So this is exactly like the extract content from Perplexity workflow. So here again, like I'll basically input the post topic here, and then here I have a specific prompt for the Perplexity search. And you can see here, you can ultimately, like pull from whichever LLM of your choice that does best, like that is best for the task. But you can see here what it was like talking about before, about the role-playing type of prompts, where I do get very specific on the role of that the LLM should play, the overarching goal and the audience. This is like something that I like to have as a system prompt within AirOps. And then I basically use like the task to be very specific about the topic research, the source gathering, the output structure, and the style and tone. And you can also like go all the way to like create constraints as well. And then we have a human review step, and then we basically push everything to the grid. And so we can test this out. Oh, I mean, we'll test it later actually on the.
Some questions just while you're there, Matteo, came up around why did you choose Perplexity rather than one of the like OpenAI models? Someone mentioned like 4.0 in particular.
Yeah, I think like specifically it just comes to preference, like, and what I think like AirOps is great at is that you can really test like different outputs within the context of the workflow. Like for example, like here I can test with the same exact prompt how Perplexity what it outputs for a specific input. And you can run the same exact test with a different model. So adding 4.0, for example, you can also like have the temperature or the consistent results. Like some models like give also the ability to refine for consistent results. And I just prefer the Perplexity output. So I think it's just like a matter of tastes, and it depends also what you're trying to do. I think like Perplexity has a better sourcing of URLs, and I think like that's specifically what I'm looking for here so that I can use these URLs also as part of like the blog content creation, for example.
Love it. But a few other things came up related to that. So one I think you mentioned, Matteo, and it goes in tandem with your workflow here, is you're trying to generate extra content around like a recent or probably more so like a trending topic. I think
Totally.
Perplexity generally is going to be better at the likes of that than a model that's been trained on data from months, if not like years ago, like a Claude. So you're looking for the access to the web, so it has a better sense of like some of the more recent information too.
Great point. Absolutely.
And one other question here from Michael is around if AirOps has a built-in system for A/B testing. But I guess more so for you, Matteo, how do you look at maybe your own A/B testing if you are testing out different models?
So this is basically how I would look, like I would basically like test out. I can, you can either like see it in context. You can run the same exact output or like the same exact prompt by just selecting GPT-4o, test it out, and check the quality, like cross-check the quality of the output on a per prompt basis. That obviously, like it will depend also on how expensive the specific LLM is. So you can check also like the on logs, like the number of tasks that basically the like needed that basically you're spending on creating this, like executing this specific prompt. Obviously, like I don't know, other some models are actually cheaper than 401, which is like the more expensive because it has inference and it has to think through previous results and so on and so forth. So this is also something that you can keep in mind. But ultimately, what I think AirOps allows you to do is also the ability of having conditional or branches in your workflows where you can have basically two LLMs running steps running side by side with the exact same prompt, and eventually you could even have some sort of like A/B test if you'd like. I don't know if it's like that's exactly the right word, but to basically test what the quality of the output. But ultimately, I think like the quality of the output, it comes to personal taste as much as the task at hand.
Yeah, you took the process out of my mouth, Matteo. I was going to describe it the exact same. If you just click configure in that first bullet again, expand topic. Michael's question, which I misunderstood, so that was my problem, was A/B testing of like the prompts. So I think
Right.
the exact same process as what you described, Matteo.
Mhm.
Michael would be the answer to your one of maybe just create two LLM blocks, and then the best way we found to actually get from like a blank starting slate to like a really good prompt is if you go back to the prompt tab, Matteo, there's a button up the top right, generate with AI. Your best like way to get started is give this like your textual or like your as if you were explaining to one of us what you want to achieve. And then our tool here will give you a much better formatted prompt that looks pretty similar to what Matteo has, where it's like very structured and it starts to use the system prompt and then the user assistant pairs in the way that they're intended. So in short, if you want to get started with like A/B testing or just writing your prompt, you don't need to be a prompting expert. Use the generate with AI button and that'll be your cheat code to much greater success. But yeah, I'll let you keep going, Matteo.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. So like we saw basically exactly like the expanded topic will then be passed on to a human review, which will see how the UI actually looks in the grid. And then there's always like a formatting step that basically it just like takes the the output of each steps and pass it onto the grid. Um, and if we can then see how basically I am mapping the subsequent workflow for creating the SEO article and newsletter by actually passing, you see like the post topic is the perplexity topic that we identified in the previous post. And then I programmed this workflow by using my long form playbook post type structure. So that's kind of like a template that I would like the LLM to create the SEO article around, and following my personal writing style for long form content. Now, what are these basically specific guidelines? That comes back to what we were discussing before about grounding the LLM with your context and specific information. So before we jump into this, I think it's worth spending like a few seconds looking at my data, which is basically like the ability that AirOps gives you to actually upload this structured context and content. You can even go all the way to importing your SQL database. What I did is I basically created like I copied, I don't know, 5 to 10 blog posts that I wrote into a ChatGPT. I try to abstract and extract the key writing styles. And I then basically, for both social sorry, social, obviously I did with, I don't know, 5 to 10 LinkedIn posts. And basically I am uploaded these guidelines into AirOps. And I did the same with the long form content. So tone of voice, structure and patterns, and this was done through a 401 simple prompt, basically. And so I think like the LLM now on AirOps, if we go back to the grid, once we actually go into this flow, you see here like the topic is still the post topic, but I also added post type and writing styles. And I started this workflow by adding these database read steps, which is basically I'm telling the AirOps to fetch the post writing style and the specific post template. And then on the back of that, prompt the LLM to follow, to reference these steps. Not here, but this is because this is the outline. But when it's creating the actual SEO article, you see I'm referencing the outline that was pulled from the database, the structure that was pulled from the database, and the writing style. Sorry, the outline was actually the outline from the previous step here. And on the back of that, I also then added another newsletter, which is basically creating like a newsletter article from that stems from the SEO article.
There was one question that came up a little bit earlier, Matteo, but came to mind as you went through your like knowledge base there. Someone asked about if you were to take like sales calls or context, do you try and feed all of that into a knowledge base, or do you kind of like self-select the best quality ones just to get started? So are you kind of giving the system everything, or are you trying to like select the highest quality ones then to feed in?
Again, it really depends on what you're trying to do. But I would always try to, I would try to, parse through the customer calls that I know will have, relevant insights or are more useful for a specific, use case. So, for example, if I'm trying to use AirOps or like this similar workflow to this to create case studies, then I will try to feed AirOps the customer calls from active customers that tend to be happy. Like if I'm trying to come up with website messaging, then I would try to feed it with the, I don't know, the customer calls where I have more context on customer discovery and pain points and challenges for the persona, so that I can use that as the grounding element and the context to then craft mirroring capabilities, benefits, and features type of messaging, if that makes sense.
Love it. Yeah. I think it, like you said, it kind of depends on the use case. Maybe you're using it for exploration. Like you want to give it a ton of customer calls or whatever your starting context is, and you're going to use the LLMs or whatever your automation is to surface insights from it. In that case, you want to give it everything. But in this case, where you're trying to create standardized or like high quality output. You want to be feeding it your best quality content so that it knows what good quality looks like. So I think, yeah, that was a great answer you gave.
Awesome. Yeah. And again, like, like here, like I've also like created like not just like the writing styles, but also in the same fashion, I basically fed a bunch of like my LinkedIn posts to ChatGPT, and it extracted, let's say, the giveaway post, with opening hook or introduction, the main section, and so on and so forth. Same with a case study post, where I basically showcase what I've done for my client work, or I don't know, a listicle post for people, tools, or learnings. So this is something that you can very easily do, and once you do, it really helps you match the output of the content to your brand voice, to your style, to your writing patterns, which makes a big difference. And we can actually probably just like check it out now, because ultimately the SEO, like these content creation workflows are very much similar. Like if we zip through the LinkedIn post one, it's very, very similar. So fetch post template, post writing style, create the LinkedIn post. You can see here I'm using actually Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which I think again, like it's the best bet between quality and efficiency. Human review, format, and end. And there's literally like the same exact structure for the others, which again is a testament to the modularity and scalability of Airflow as a platform. Because once you create one, yes, it's a lot of work to maybe create the first workflow, but then it scales very nicely in terms of like processes. Probably the one that is worth going through before we actually like press play on the entire grid is the ideogram image, which was a little bit more custom, where I basically use the Perplexity input to then craft a specific prompt based on the topic that is specific or geared to ideogram. And then we have a custom API call to the ideogram API, which then returns this type of image. And we can see that in the grid in a second. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, like here, what I also did was just like make sure that these post types can then influence the output of the specific posts, which is something that you can also do. All right, shall we give it a go?
So I think if you go back to the images just for 1 second, Matteo, I think it's worth noting that like most models, if you want to open up that very last one that you had, just even the image part of it, most models you'll find, even like a mid-journey, they do not do a good job on text generation. So I think as we went through your build, Matteo, you had recognized ideogram as being like really high quality at exactly this. So that's where, and someone asked about like integrations. We added it. It was like easy enough for us to add, and obviously it improved the quality of your output. But that is one thing out of the box that is very tough to do for like content generation, is like generate images with text. So I think that's just like a call out for other folks that ideogram does seem like a really good tool. Again, provided you give it like the right direction with the prompt.
Absolutely. And again, it's not perfect, but you can see like this one, for example, like it does have a little noise,
Yeah.
but it is really much better than others I've used specifically. And it's it's a great incentive for you to like just refine the prompt, because that's ultimately what it comes down to as well.
Yeah.
All right. What should we try? Is there anyone from the audience that want to like give a topic input that we can plug into the workflow?
Someone's got to have a lot of marketers and growth people on the call. Someone's got to have a hot take. End of year charitable giving, founder-led content ideas, and
We can go with Joe's.
oh, Future of evergreen. I think future of evergreen content is like an interesting one. Because I think
Well,
with the development of a lot of like search channels, we can get into that, I think, in your recap, Matteo.
mhm.
Um
Right.
I think we'll see a lot of like changes in how people search, how people like interact with content, but many good ideas. I'll leave it up to you. You're the guest.
All right, let's do founder-led content ideas. Let's see what it returns for us. Thanks for the
And
input.
while it's running, Matteo, maybe just give folks who might have joined a little bit later, like end to end. So you're going from idea to what very quickly.
Exactly. So what we're doing is like we're feeding AirOps a little input. Then the first workflow has perplexity take this input and return an expanded in-demand topic, which I will then pass into another workflow to create an SEO article, a newsletter article, and then use use the actual SEO article for seeding context for creating a LinkedIn post, LinkedIn carousel, a next thread, 5x posts, and an ideogram image, all in just a few clicks. And you can see ultimately when it comes to like the choice of LLMs, yes, some of them are also like a little slower, and it also depends on the length and complexity of the prompt I found. But ultimately, it's um, the savings in terms of time are anyway 10x compared to what you would do with like doing compared to doing it manually.
Yeah. While that's finishing off there, Matteo, I'll answer some of the other questions that have come up.
Please.
One is around, does AirOps already integrate with other tools like Notion, Google Drive, Zapier, and more? Absolutely. Like Notion, Google Drive, most popular CMSs. So if you use like a Strapi, a Webflow, a Contentful, all of those are accessible today with like a single click. So in Matteo's example, he's generating social content. But if you were generating like a blog post like he has midway through and you wanted to sync that to your CMS, you can absolutely do that very simply. And then for anything that we don't have, so when we were testing with Ideogram, for example, it wasn't a native integration. We just basically used our Copilot to generate a like a curl request or like a HTTP request for us, and we're able to interact with that. So basically, if you want to get going with any tool, we have an ability to use get and post requests. Otherwise, most tools people have in their tech stack, we're going to integrate with out of the box today. But yeah, Matteo, walk us through what I came up with.
Yeah, so in the meantime, exactly, it basically came up with key points for founder-led content strategies, um, highly effective for B2B SaaS, particularly on LinkedIn, content strategy, mix of tofu, mofu, bofu, differentiators is like important, emerging trends, um, best practices, 90 days test, which is very similar to what I did, like myself, like the 100 days challenge, let's say. Content funnel, consistency, recommended tooling and tactics. So this is how I basically structured the whole prompt to return this type of things, all the way down to SEO keywords and sources. So you can see this is like how the review UI works. So I can basically also have some edits. I can add additional points here if I would like to, so that it will then be passed on to the remainder of the workflow. So I can accept and you can see like this is just like landed in here. And so now I can use this input to pass on to the next workflow, which is SEO article and newsletter article. In the meantime, what I can also do, well, it's edit, I will program the educational step-by-step post. So that will be the style that will inform the creation of LinkedIn and the remainder of the social content. Okay, we can see this is like the outline of the founder-led content strategy for B2B SaaS. I think it's also worth noticing that it calls out B2B SaaS because the prompt in the system prompt, I call out specifically that my audience is CMOs, VP marketing, and founders of B2B SaaS. And so the output reflects also that type of anchoring. And I think like this is like exactly this structure also works follows a specific framework that I've added, which is the pyramid principle from Barbara Minto, which is one of my favorite storytelling frameworks that I use for all my posts. And again, this is what you can do to basically make it come across. And you can see like I think like it's very good output, very relevant. Why Founder is crucial for B2B SaaS success, authenticity and trust, leads through personal branding, the overall strategy, emerging trends, and so on and so forth. So I can accept this.
I'm just conscious of time, Matteo, but
Yes,
I think what was interesting there in that human review step as well is obviously you accepted it, you liked the output, but we'll say there was parts of it you didn't like. You could delete, you can edit, like that's a full markdown editor. And then part
absolutely.
of your workflow is you're doing the human review because you want to give it the human insight. So what you're doing there is you're getting the LLM to do a bit of work, queued up for you. You can edit, tweak as you want. And then once you send it back, as in like, here's Mateo's final version, then it goes off and completes the last step that again, you've set it up for. So that just means that again, be it content creation or repurposing, that's like generally how we think the like expert or human in the loop process should be used. Like let the models of the automation do some work for you. You should review it at the important moments and then get it to continue on doing its work thereafter.
Absolutely. And you can still do it also when the output is done,
Yep.
or if you want to rerun the workflow, like it also like super easy to do. Um,
Maybe
okay.
what we can do, Matteo, is share out some of the final LinkedIn posts afterwards. Do you want to just very quickly run through some of your recap best practices before we wrap
We're
up
wrapped
here? Because you
for
did
sure.
put time and effort into a lot of the learnings I think people can gain from.
Absolutely. Yeah, some of the stuff that it's worth noticing. Yeah, shall we just like zip through the learnings? Yeah, I think like one of the things that really helped me in the process is using the Copilot to refine and improve the prompts. When you deal with like things like AirOps, again, like the focus is moves also on the granularity and the how the processes are actually set up. And so like I think like this has been a massive game changer for me to actually help me get the output I want, or even learn more about the tool. Also, yeah, like one other thing is I've tried to have like I've started with like a massive workflow with a lot of like different steps, but I found that it's a lot more efficient and more modular to just like have short, clear, linear workflows that you can then patch up or sequence into grids. And again, especially if you're trying to, for these type of like processes like content creation, breaking down research and creation workflows can give you a lot more modular structure so that you can scale a lot more different process and more processes in different tabs of the grids. And then yeah, obviously knowledge bases. It's a massive differentiator on the quality of the output. Yeah, I think like we covered pretty much all of this, but yeah, I think like again, it's the part of the output. It comes from the role play or like the type of prompt that you're feeding like the LLM. So that's another huge plus. This is like a structure that I've been following, and it's been really helpful for me. But I think like you can everyone will ultimately find their own.
Amazing. The comments are flooded with questions, Matteo, that I'm trying to get through. But maybe if you just want to pop to the very next slide. Um, I guess maybe one more. Yeah, like key takeaways. I think as we worked through some of your workflows, definitely having a very good idea of what you're trying to achieve. That's a great starting point. And then I think Matteo did a great job as well of like mapping out kind of the building blocks. And as we just went through there, we now have like a co-pilot in our builder. So you describe what you're trying to achieve. And the co-pilot will start to segment and like recommend different blocks to you that you should include in your workflow. I saw someone ask, like, how do you pull information from your knowledge base? Well, you can ask that of Copilot. And then as of about 2 hours ago, our team pushed an update so that you can get the Copilot to make edits in your workflow and add steps. So maybe our slides are already outdated because that's the pace we run at. But in the last 2 hours, you can now start to ask Copilot about what you want to build, and it can actually go and take those actions for you. But I think definitely bringing it back to, I think you shared a lot of that sentiment, Matteo, as well, around like use these tools for what they're really good at. So the image generation, setting up the context, doing the research, but then the human in the loop is still so important to like revise the quality and then set it up with the quality as well at the beginning, like your formats and your personal style. So the tools can definitely help you move faster and give time to the actions that are higher value for you and your business. But you want to maintain the human essence at the most important moment. So anything else you'd add to that?
Yeah, and ultimately, I think like to the last mile, right, of posting should always be in the hands of a human. It's you're posting, so like don't delegate that to a machine as of yet, or don't do it ever. Like because ultimately like that gives you like the final check on all of the things that we've gone through. So it's about going to the finishing line faster and with less effort while maintaining quality. But you do have to cross that path at the end.
Love it. And then if people want to stay in touch, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, you can connect with me on LinkedIn or on my website genesisgrowth.com, where you can just like book a call and chat.
Amazing. And then in this week of Thanksgiving, I want to give a big thanks to Matteo. Put in a ton of work. It's amazing to see the success that comes out of it as well. He was very strategic in his approach, layered in the right amount of automation and like human review and insight. So it's great to be able to showcase like an amazing builder and an amazing set of workflows. So later today, we're hoping to get the recording out as well as the slides. If people have any follow-up questions, the information for AirOps is there. Hit up that team at airops.com address if you want like some training and to see some of the ROI you can get from investing in social or organic activities. But yeah, just wanted to give a massive thank you to Matteo for sharing his workflows that are driving success. So yeah, massive thanks to you, Matteo.
Thanks so much for having me, Owen. Great to be here.
Thanks very much, folks. Have a great Tuesday. We'll see you later. Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Bye bye.